the opening scene, the air was filled with tension as a dog barked furiously at something unseen. The dog, Bobby, seemed as though he was directing his barks at a toddler. His eyes were wild with alarm, and his fur bristled with unease. Ji-hyun watched, surprised, as both her parents tried to silence Bobby, but he continued barking relentlessly, a sense of urgency in his every woof. Ji-hyun, a kind-hearted girl with a gentle demeanor, had been asked by her mother to feed her baby brother. The baby, Ji-young, was adorable with his chubby cheeks and gurgling laughter. As she spoon-fed him, she suddenly noticed something strange about his eyes. They looked different than usual, like two dark orbs reflecting an unknown secret. Ji-hyun couldn't help but worry. "Mom, Dad," she began, her voice tinged with concern. "Is everything okay with Ji-young? His eyes looked different today." But her parents misunderstood her question, thinking she was inquiring about the birds and the bees, an uncomfortable topic for Ji-hyun's 6th grade sensibilities. Their faces turned beet red. They awkwardly tried to change the subject. Ji-hyun attempted to correct them, her frustration building. She just wanted to know if something was wrong with her little brother, but they simply thought she was jealous of the baby, an emotion she hadn't even considered until now. Despite her parents' reassurances, Ji-hyun couldn't shake the feeling that the toddler, though resembling her brother and having his voice, was not actually him. There was something off about him, something unsettling. The baby stared menacingly at her as her mother held him, making Ji-hyun's skin crawl. Determined to find answers, Ji-hyun scoured the internet and even sought help through community posts. Unfortunately, the responses she received were insulting, accusing her of jealousy, hating her sibling, or having mental issues. Ji-hyun felt isolated and disheartened, thinking that the only one who sensed something was wrong was her loyal dog, Bobby. And then, in the midst of her despair, a ray of hope appeared. She received a reply from someone named Warm, who claimed to believe her. Relief washed over her as she eagerly read his message, directing her to search for something called Changeling. Her search revealed fascinating folktales of trolls swapping their children with human infants for mischief. Ji-hyun delved deeper into her research, learning that trolls were wretched creatures known for pranks and evil deeds. Warm messaged her again, offering his help if she sent her address. Skeptical and alarmed, Ji-hyun blocked him, dismissing his talk of trolls as nonsense, but a lingering sense of unease remained. As she left her room and opened the fridge for a snack, she heard a chewing sound coming from the balcony. Curious and anxious, Ji-hyun found her baby brother there in the dark, his eyes gleaming with an eerie light. As she moved closer, she was horrified to discover him eating her beloved dog, Bobby, who lay lifeless at his feet. Ji-hyun's heart sank as she realized the true extent of the horror unfolding before her. The toddler, unfazed by being caught in the act, mocked her with a sinister grin and then transformed into a massive troll, towering over her with grotesque features and gnarled claws. Just as the troll lunged at Ji-hyun, the window shattered with a deafening crash. A young boy burst into the room, his face determined and his eyes ablaze with courage. In one swift motion, he severed the troll's arm with a gleaming sword. The boy chided Ji-hyun for ignoring his messages, and she realized with astonishment that he was Warm, the one who had reached out to her. The troll, undeterred by its severed limb, began to regenerate. Warm swiftly picked up Ji-hyun, his grip strong and reassuring, and they dodged the troll's furious attack. With a focused intensity, Warm raised his sword, which ignited with mesmerizing orange flames. As the troll charged again, he executed a special technique called Twister Potato, slicing through the troll's monstrous form with precision and power. Among the fallen pieces, Ji-hyun heard a faint crying sound. She rushed over and discovered her real brother, Ji-young, trembling but unharmed. Warm assured her that Ji-young was safe, but he warned her never to speak of the incident or the troll, as people would label her insane. With a solemn nod, Warm bid her farewell, his enigmatic presence fading into the night. Ji-hyun held her baby brother close, knowing that she had witnessed a hidden world of danger and magic that few would ever believe or understand. The next day in school, Ji-hyun was still reeling from the events. She hoped it had been a dream, but realized it wasn't, and laughed to herself as she gazed out the window. Suddenly, a new transfer student was introduced to the class. To Ji-hyun's astonishment, it was Warm. He walked in with a shy smile, his eyes darting around the room nervously. Ji-hyun noticed his messy hair and the way he clutched his backpack tightly, as if it was his lifeline. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What is the best mystical beast? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now, back to the recap. In the next scene, the floor was littered with snacks, and a chubby boy was busily munching away. His parents, looking concerned, told him that if he wasn't feeling sick anymore, he should go to school. The boy's cheeks were stuffed with chips, and crumbs covered his shirt. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. After they closed the door, they expressed their worry about how much their son had changed in just 1 week. Their faces were etched with concern and confusion, and they exchanged troubled glances. They began to suspect that he might not be their real son, their voices filled with anxiety and disbelief. Unbeknownst to them, the plump boy overheard their conversation and started fantasizing about eating humans. His eyes gleamed with a sinister hunger, revealing his true identity as a troll. He licked his lips, lost in his dark thoughts. The next day, Ji-hyun mourned at the grave of her dog, Bobby, hoping that he would find happiness in heaven. Tears welled up in her eyes as she gently placed a bouquet of flowers on the tiny grave. She felt a deep sense of loss and loneliness. Her parents called her to eat breakfast and reminded her to get ready for school. They were currently living as refugees outdoors because their house had been destroyed. Ji-hyun felt embarrassed about their situation, her cheeks turning red with shame. She suggested to her parents that they should find a place to stay, but her parents remained optimistic and seemed content with living outside. Their smiles were brave but filled with worry. Ji-hyun was speechless. Her parents then confessed that they were in debt for $2 million due to the destruction of their house, which had also damaged adjacent houses, leading to the costly sum. Ji-hyun wondered how they would resolve this issue, but her parents continued to keep a positive attitude, believing everything would work out fine. Their unwavering optimism tugged at Ji-hyun's heart. Once again, Ji-hyun was speechless, feeling as though her soul had left her body. Suddenly, Warm poked her face, curious about what was bothering her. Ji-hyun lashed out at him, blaming him for destroying her home and plunging them into debt. She clenched her fists, her voice trembling with anger. But after calming down, she realized that had Warm not intervened, her family might have been killed by the troll. She swallowed her anger and expressed her gratitude to Warm, acknowledging that she had forgotten to thank him the day before. Warm commented that showing gratitude was basic etiquette, which irritated her. She rolled her eyes and said, "Thank you very much," as she started to walk away. Warm followed her, asking if they could be friends, his eyes filled with eagerness and his smile infectious. Warm surmised that Ji-hyun possessed the ability to sense when someone was a troll. He looked up to share his thoughts with her, only to realize she had already left. His shoulders slumped, but he remained determined to befriend her. Ji-hyun was heading downstairs when she felt a peculiar sensation and glanced at the chubby boy. She briefly entertained the thought that he might be a troll, her heart racing with unease, but quickly she dismissed it as nonsense, shaking her head to clear her thoughts. Her mind shifted to figuring out how to earn money to pay off her family's debt. With determination, she continued on her way, her steps heavy with responsibility. Meanwhile, the plump boy grumbled about the tasteless school lunches, his disappointment evident in the way he wrinkled his nose at the food. He sighed, realizing that even as a troll, school lunches were still a disappointment. Suddenly, his shadow spoke to him, urging him to focus on his mission instead of gorging on food. The boy scowled at his shadow, his face twisting in frustration. He snapped, "Leave me alone!" His harsh words angered the shadow, and it threatened to report him to Sir Bobo, the mysterious figure who seemed to be in charge of their sinister plans. The very thought of Sir Bobo sent shivers down the boy's spine, and he quickly changed his tune, complying with the shadow's demands. He reluctantly started searching for the elusive peace, a task he found bothersome, especially since he was finally enjoying some freedom in his new form. At a convenience store, Ji-hyun was working as a cashier. She began calculating her salary, her brow furrowing with worry, as she estimated the number of years it would take to pay off her family's debt. The conclusion was disheartening. It would take 200 long years of hard work. Her thoughts were interrupted by a strange sensation, one she recognized all too well. She turned around, her heart pounding, curious to find the source of this familiar feeling. To her dismay, she saw the chubby boy again and was seized by fear, recognizing that this was the same sensation she felt when she encountered the first troll. The plump boy instructed her to check out his items, but Ji-hyun was too nervous to scan the snacks, her hands trembling, and tears welled up in her eyes. The boy, puzzled by her reaction, demanded to know why she wasn't processing his checkout and began to threaten her. Suddenly, a group of menacing thugs entered the convenience store. They tried to walk through the aisle blocked by the chubby boy, but he ignored them and told Ji-hyun to hurry up with the checkout. This angered the thugs, and their imposing leader, with a fierce scowl, grabbed the boy's jacket and dragged him outside, determined to teach him a lesson. Ji-hyun felt somewhat relieved by the turn of events, hoping that her intuition about the boy being a troll was wrong. As she started tidying up the snacks, a thought struck her. If she was right, were those people in danger? Driven by concern and a sense of responsibility, Ji-hyun went outside to find them. To her horror, she discovered the thugs being easily overpowered by the chubby boy, who had transformed into a terrifying troll. He seemed excited about eating the thugs and getting a new skin for himself. Fear gripped Ji-hyun, and she crouched down, hiding behind a trash container, desperately trying to slip away from the horrifying scene. However, her attempt at stealth failed when she accidentally kicked the trash and broke a glass bottle, revealing her location to the troll. With its grotesque, elongated tongue, the troll effortlessly captured her, his twisted thoughts dwelling on how nice it would be to have a female skin. Fear consumed Ji-hyun, but just in time, Warm appeared, his presence a welcome relief. He swiftly drew his flaming sword and expertly cut off the troll's tongue, saving Ji-hyun from a gruesome fate. Panting with fear, she glanced at Warm with gratitude, but her fear soon turned to anger. She scolded him for arriving late for the rescue, her voice trembling with emotion. Warm, unfazed by her anger, only remarked on her continued lack of gratitude, his expression unapologetic. The troll, now recognizing Warm's fiery sword, identified him as a trapper, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and hatred. Warm wasted no time and lunged towards the troll, his sword poised for a decisive strike. However, the troll retched a voluminous amount of repulsive liquid onto both Warm and Ji-hyun. Fearful that the liquid was poisonous and might cause her to dissolve, Ji-hyun expressed her worry, her voice shaking with panic. Warm, trying to reassure her, simply stated that it was just vomit, though the situation was far from pleasant. He then tried to locate the troll, but it had already escaped, leaving only the lingering sense of danger in the air. When Warm asked Ji-hyun for the troll's whereabouts, she was too frightened to assist. Her heart pounded in her chest as fear gnawed at her. However, he warned her of the increasing danger if they didn't act immediately. Following this, Ji-hyun led Warm to an under-construction subway station. The setting was eerie, with shadows dancing in the dimly lit tunnels, and the echoing sound of dripping water creating an eerie atmosphere. She clung nervously to Warm's back as they descended the stairs. The cold metal railing felt rough against her trembling fingers. Suddenly, the lights went out, plunging them into darkness. Panic surged through Ji-hyun, and her breath quickened. Warm ignited his sword to serve as a torch, revealing the troll right in front of them. The troll's grotesque appearance sent shivers down Ji-hyun's spine. Its jagged teeth gleamed in the dim light, and its matted hair framed a sinister grin. The troll seized the opportunity to slash at Warm, who attempted to counterattack, but his vision was impaired by the darkness. As the troll repeatedly slashed at Warm, he realized he was unable to retaliate. Fear gripped Ji-hyun, and she watched in horror as the battle unfolded before her eyes. After a while, Warm's right arm was heavily wounded. Assessing the situation, Warm realized things could get worse, which terrified Ji-hyun even more. She thought quickly and suggested to Warm that he extinguish his flaming sword, as it was revealing their location to the troll. He initially thought her suggestion was absurd, fearing they wouldn't be able to see the troll, but she assured him that she had a plan. Warm extinguished his flaming sword, and the troll quickly noticed. However, the troll was convinced that any plans they had were futile, as he could detect their scent from the liquid he had sprayed on them. Ji-hyun, holding Warm's arm, instructed him to stay quiet as she focused on discerning the troll's location. As the troll lunged towards them, Ji-hyun swiftly guided Warm's arm in the direction the troll was coming from, landing a hit on its head. The troll let out a guttural growl, but Ji-hyun's hit had bought them a moment of reprieve. Unfazed by the attack, the troll continued to drive them into the wall. Warm, however, complimented Ji-hyun on finding the troll, then planted his feet firmly on the ground, halting the troll's advance. His voice was filled with admiration and gratitude. With a swift lift of his sword, Warm activated his boiled potato skill and cleaved the troll into several pieces. The troll's grotesque form disintegrated into a pile of foul-smelling debris. As they left the scene, Ji-hyun remained in shock, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. Warm thanked Ji-hyun for saving lives at the convenience store, and tossed her a suitcase as her share of the reward. The suitcase landed at her feet with a thud. He then expressed his wish for her to join him, recognizing the value of her unique ability. Ji-hyun's eyes welled up with conflicting emotions. She threw the suitcase back to Warm, then ran off, tears streaming down her face. She may have been desperate for money, but she only had one life, and her deepest desire was to return home and live a peaceful life. Upon returning home, Ji-hyun found that her tent was gone, replaced by a sign from park management prohibiting inconsiderate camping activities. Her father emerged from a bush, inviting Ji-hyun to join him in a sleeping bag. The bond between them felt stronger than ever, and Ji-hyun hesitated. This unexpected turn of events caused Ji-hyun to reevaluate her situation. The next day, Ji-hyun accepted Warm's offer. Warm teased her, saying she should now refer to him as her boss. Their friendship blossomed amidst their shared adventures. In the next scene, Bobo was engrossed in a video game at home when the shadow reported the troll's death. This news infuriated Bobo, who promptly stomped on the shadow, killing it instantly. His frustration was palpable as he mourned the loss of his monstrous ally. Ji-hyun attempted to formalize a contract with Warm, probing for his personal details. However, Warm confessed that he didn't have a real name, surname, or even a known age, and he certainly didn't have a social security number. This frustrated Ji-hyun, as she found it unfathomable for someone living in South Korea to lack an identity. She wondered about the mystery surrounding her enigmatic friend. Consequently, Ji-hyun abandoned the contract and negotiated their monetary agreement verbally. Her meticulous Asian upbringing made her calculate her share carefully, but Warm's casual offer of unlimited money raised suspicions. It eventually came to light that Warm's true desire was to become a master trapper, a revelation that left Ji-hyun intrigued and perplexed. Ji-hyun found Warm quite peculiar, but she still insisted he should sign the contract, suggesting he use his thumbprint. As she tried to remove his glove, Warm instinctively jerked his hand back, which frustrated Ji-hyun. Nonetheless, Warm reassured her she could do whatever she wanted with the money, his eyes holding a hint of vulnerability. Suddenly, a delinquent in the class instructed Warm to buy him a drink. Warm, attempting to understand the situation, was approached by the delinquent, who grabbed his head and warned him to obey. Warm, unversed in the social dynamics, misconstrued the delinquent's status as a top G, an image he'd admired in dramas and comics. Submissively, Warm went out to buy the delinquent a drink, feeling out of his element. In the classroom, the other students were concerned about Warm's behavior, while the delinquent was pleased to have found a new lackey. Warm continuously served the delinquent, infuriating Ji-hyun. She couldn't reconcile how someone capable of slaying trolls could be so subservient, and her frustration grew with each passing moment. Warm admitted he'd made a vow to never harm humans, although Ji-hyun suspected that this could lead to worsening situations. Meanwhile, the delinquent was playing with a toy train, using it to taunt another student. The classmates noticed the escalating situation and realized the delinquent was bullying the student. The delinquent told Warm to film the student getting bullied and upload it to YouTube. Warm followed his instruction, but as the delinquent continued his torment, inserting the toy train into the student's mouth, Ji-hyun implored her classmates to intervene. She couldn't stand by and watch any longer. Warm silently observed as the student was beaten and fell to the floor, when the delinquent insulted the fallen student with, "Why were you even born?" Warm had a flashback to his own past. He'd heard those words directed at him too. Finally, Warm intervened, stopping the delinquent from hitting the student. When the delinquent punched Warm, he seemed unaffected. Instead, he gripped the delinquent's wrist, causing him pain. Suspecting the delinquent might be a troll, Warm asked Ji-hyun to confirm it. Her heart pounded as she struggled with the decision. Knowing the delinquent was human, she falsely claimed to sense something off about him. The delinquent, angered, picked up a chair to throw at Warm, but Warm punched it, causing it to hit the delinquent's face. The delinquent fell unconscious, while Warm became convinced that the delinquent wasn't human. The classroom was in chaos, with students bewildered by the bizarre events. Subsequently, Warm was sent to the principal's office and reprimanded by the homeroom teacher for his misconduct, despite having only been at school for 2 days. Ji-hyun decided to support Warm by revealing the truth, but just as she was about to, the door opened to reveal a beautiful Nuna, claiming to be Warm's guardian. Warm's guardian scolded him for his poor behavior at school and stated that she would have to report this incident to her superiors. Warm seemed sad about it, his head hung low. Suddenly, Ji-hyun approached them and asked his guardian to sign a contract for Warm. Without hesitation, his guardian tore the contract to shreds. She ordered Ji-hyun and Warm to follow her to the company, leaving both of them with uncertainty about what lay ahead. Upon reaching the company known as Trappers, Ji-hyun realized that it was a pharmaceutical enterprise, and she questioned their roles there. The building's sleek, modern exterior contrasted sharply with the grim reality she had encountered so far. At this point, Warm's guardian presented her name card to Ji-hyun, revealing that her name was Gina, and she explained that they were listed as employees only on paper. Ji-hyun's confusion deepened as she tried to grasp the complexity of the situation. Entering an elevator, a security system scanned and identified Warm and Gina as members of the Trappers and flagged Ji-hyun as an intruder. Panic welled up in her as machine guns emerged from the elevator's interior, their cold metal barrels targeting her with deadly intent. Gina had forgotten to inform the system that she was bringing a guest. Once the machine guns were deactivated, they continued to the basement, the tension in the elevator still hanging in the air. As they delved deeper, Gina began discussing trolls, and they came across an enormous troll skeleton. Ji-hyun's eyes widened as she took in the sheer size and terrifying presence of the creature's remains. Gina's voice held a somber tone as she explained the fearsome nature of trolls. Trolls, with their boundless regeneration abilities, destructive power, and overwhelming speed, were predators that considered humans as food. Their names varied across eras and locations, but they had always reigned above humanity. However, brave individuals had risen to oppose them, and they now called themselves Trappers. Gina's words painted a grim picture of the ongoing battle with the trolls. While Gina continued her explanation about the trolls, Ji-hyun interrupted her, asking about the value of a troll. She couldn't help but wonder what had brought them to this place and what role Warm played in it all. The elevator door suddenly opened, and a handsome man stepped inside, his confident demeanor immediately catching Ji-hyun's attention. He greeted Gina warmly and bid them farewell. As he exited, he referred to Ji-hyun as disgusting, infuriating her. She felt a rush of anger and confusion. However, Warm reassured her that the comment had been directed at him, not her. Ji-hyun's heart softened, realizing that Warm had faced his fair share of challenges. Following Gina, Ji-hyun noticed the surrounding crowd gossiping and expressing disdain for Warm. This left Ji-hyun feeling confused, as she couldn't understand why her friend was receiving such negative attention. Eventually, they arrived at a large door, where Gina warned them not to complicate matters and to prepare themselves for what lay ahead. Gina then left them, with Warm reassuring Ji-hyun that all would be well, though the uncertainty hung in the air. Upon entering the door, Warm was abruptly bound by a vine, and Ji-hyun's heart raced with fear. An individual announced that Warm should consider this punishment as an honor, since it was administered by the core organization of the Trappers. This person was revealed to be Rose, ranked 14th, a figure shrouded in mystery and power. The top-ranked member, with scars on his face, was named Sol-hwang, the leader of the formidable Golden Lion team. His imposing figure and battle-worn appearance spoke of his experience and power. Finally, the director of the information department, Simon, appeared. His presence demanded attention as he projected a video showing Warm's act of violence against a civilian, the very incident that had brought them here. Simon announced the start of Warm's punishment and questioned him, asking if it was true that he had punched a civilian. Ignoring the question, Warm curiously inquired about the number of views the incident had garnered on YouTube. His nonchalant attitude irritating Simon, the tension escalated, sparking an argument between the two. Sol-hwang intervened, reminding them that, as trappers, their mission was to protect and save humans. He condemned Warm for ignoring these principles and resorting to violence against an innocent person. Sol-hwang then ordered Simon to bring forth a box with a disturbing face on it. He informed Warm that he would be imprisoned in the dark room, a place devoid of light or sound, for a month. Ji-hyun was perplexed, unable to comprehend how the small box could serve as a prison, let alone how Warm could be sentenced to a month inside for merely punching a civilian. Warm expressed his boredom at the prospect of spending longer than anticipated in confinement, his carefree attitude remaining intact even in the face of punishment. Ji-hyun asked if such rules were standard in the company, to which Warm explained that they were specific to him due to his unique circumstances. Ji-hyun worried for him, questioning if he had anticipated such an outcome. Warm reassured her, promising to see her next month. Ji-hyun then intervened, confessing that she had ordered Warm to punch the person because she had suspected them of being a troll. She defended their actions as a minor mishap resulting from Warm's duty as a trapper. Sol-hwang asked who Ji-hyun was, and she introduced herself as a part-timer. This revelation drew laughter from the organization, amused by the presence of a seemingly ordinary girl in their midst. Gina mentioned that Ji-hyun claimed to have the ability to sense trolls, a claim met with skepticism by the group, dismissing it as 12-year-old syndrome. An indignant Ji-hyun retorted, pointing out that Simon was nearly her age. Sol-hwang grew even angrier, punching the fence in frustration. He declared that Warm's punishment would be escalated. He would be stripped of his trapper qualifications and sentenced to imprisonment, and Ji-hyun's memories would be erased. Gina attempted to intercede, but Sol-hwang reminded her of his superior rank and power to decide punishments. He then commanded his men to carry out the sentence immediately, the gravity of the situation sinking in. As Ji-hyun struggled against the vines binding her, and Simon moved to erase her memories, an old man suddenly intervened and told them to stop, distracting everyone. Warm felt relieved and addressed him as chairman. All members of the organization bowed to him. The chairman instructed them to stand up, his authority undeniable. Sol-hwang questioned his order, but the chairman expressed faith in Ji-hyun's claim and proposed a test to confirm her troll-sensing abilities, casting a glimmer of hope on the situation. Sol-hwang grumbled about the chairman being overbearing, his dominance within the organization challenged for the first time in a long while. But the chairman pointed out that Sol-hwang had been equally forceful in his decision-making. Ultimately, Sol-hwang obeyed the chairman's orders, though his irritation simmered beneath the surface. Following this, they all boarded a van, leaving the tense atmosphere behind. Ji-hyun expressed her frustration about the earlier incident, and Warm thanked her for her support, a genuine smile on his face. Ji-hyun told him to stop and reminded him that she needed him to make more money. Despite this, Warm was glad that someone had defended him, something he hadn't experienced in a long time, which made him feel good. Ji-hyun, however, was annoyed by his comments and asked why the trapper organization seemed to hate him. The question hung in the air, and Warm hesitated to reveal the truth. But before he could respond, the van came to an abrupt stop, jolting them both. Ji-hyun's head bumped into Warm's face as the van halted, their hearts racing with uncertainty. As they disembarked, they wondered about their whereabouts. Gina informed them that they were in a place known for recent unsolved murders. The victims' injuries suggested they'd been mauled by some beast, hence the lack of media coverage. Gina told them that their task was to solve the case, thereby passing the test and avoiding their earlier punishments. Meanwhile, in room 1204 of a nearby building, the bathroom floor was stained with blood. Two trolls were arguing over food, revealed to be human flesh they were consuming together. The eerie scene set the stage for the mystery that awaited Ji-hyun and Warm. Back in the present, a couple was flirting near a hotel. The boyfriend playfully told his girlfriend that he was going to eat her up, which led Warm to mistake him for a troll and try to intervene. Ji-hyun quickly knocked on Warm's head and apologized to the couple, saving them from an awkward encounter. Confused, Warm asked Ji-hyun why she stopped him, considering the boyfriend's words. Ji-hyun explained that he had misinterpreted the boyfriend's playful comment. Warm, being somewhat naive, asked for further clarification, which Ji-hyun found hard to provide due to his innocence. At the organization, Simon laughed at their mishap during the mission. Gina suggested that the organization had not provided enough information for them to successfully complete the mission, a point Sul-hwang disagreed with, his frustration mounting as the mission continued to unravel. Throwing a letter on the table, Sul-hwang insisted they had been given ample information, and if they were unable to complete the mission, it simply meant they were unqualified. Gina opened the letter, revealing photographs of numerous gruesome corpses, their lifeless eyes staring back at them. Back with Ji-hyun and Warm, Ji-hyun found the photos disturbing and unhelpful. She sat down at a nearby convenience store, contemplating the possibility of having her memory erased, the weight of the mission pressing down on her. Warm, however, offered her a stick of fried food as a small comfort. She initially refused, stating she wasn't in the mood to eat, but before long, almost all of the food was gone. Warm's simple gesture of kindness brought a moment of solace to their tense situation. Warm was surprised to discover that Ji-hyun had a snaggletooth, a detail he had observed from the bite marks on the food. Somewhat embarrassed, Ji-hyun confirmed it, and Warm's perceptive nature became more evident. Suddenly, Ji-hyun found a clue within the photos. Upon careful examination of the corpse photos, she noticed differing teeth marks indicating the presence of two trolls. She warned Warm that they were dealing with a pair of trolls, a discovery that added a layer of complexity to their mission. Simon, observing from a distance, was somewhat impressed that Ji-hyun was more competent than he had thought, a realization that cast a new light on their partnership. As Warm and Ji-hyun continued their search, Warm spotted a suspicious-looking individual and called Ji-hyun over for confirmation. When she arrived, they observed two men trying to help a completely drunk woman, seemingly coming to her aid. However, once they realized the woman was unconscious, they revealed their true intentions to take her somewhere safe, their behavior shifting ominously. Warm asked Ji-hyun to confirm the presence of trolls, to which Ji-hyun began to respond affirmatively. Before she could finish, however, Warm dashed toward the two men, ready to protect the innocent. Ji-hyun quickly clarified that it wasn't the two men they should be worried about, but the drunk woman, who was the actual troll in disguise. Warm halted his attack as the drunk woman revealed her true nature, her trollish features emerging. Without hesitation, Warm sprang into action, swiftly decapitating the woman with ease, the act carried out with a grim determination. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out at Aaron Feza, who commented, "This is Lieti on our success rate video. Thanks for commenting." The two men were shocked to see the woman's head come off, their disbelief and terror evident. Warm informed them that they were fortunate to not die that day, the gravity of the situation sinking in for the men. The men, still unclear on Warm's meaning, saw the woman's head morph into a troll and scolded Warm for spoiling their plans. Frightened and shaken, the men fled, leaving behind the gruesome scene. Ji-hyun warned Warm to stay alert since the photo suggested there should be two trolls. Warm assured her that since she didn't sense any other trolls nearby, they must have completed the mission. Gina breathed a sigh of relief, reprimanding Simon and Sul-hwang for giving false information about there being two trolls. She believed they had overreacted and overassigned, leading to unnecessary complications. Simon, however, argued that they had assigned the troll based on Warm's aspiration to become a master trapper, a decision that had unforeseen consequences. Suddenly, Ji-hyun sensed a troll presence from the dead woman's body. Ji-hyun expressed concern over whether Warm Warm truly finished her off, the uncertainty casting a shadow over their success. Warm Warm reassured her, explaining that trolls die once they're beheaded or their hearts are destroyed. Teasing Ji-hyun, Warm Warm picked up the troll's head to have her inspected. Ji-hyun, still uncomfortable with the sight, denied it, but then Warm Warm was stabbed by a claw from behind. It appeared that the headless woman was indeed still alive. Warm Warm wondered how the troll was still alive when the troll removed her clothes, revealing a second head on her chest. Gina immediately recognized the troll as a twin head, a formidable adversary of a grade level. She thought that the organization had overdone it since the twin head was beyond what Warm Warm could handle. Simon argued that they had assigned the troll based on Warm Warm's aspiration to become a master trapper, an aspiration that was now put to the ultimate test as they faced this unexpected and powerful foe. The troll's enormous claw hoisted Warm Warm into the air, crashing him brutally against the nearest wall. Ji-hyun, unable to do anything but watch, felt her heart pound as Warm Warm went limp and fell unconscious to the ground. With an eerie transformation, the troll's grotesque form shifted, morphing into a hulking four-armed monstrosity. As a two-headed troll, only one of its heads took command, and it offered silent gratitude for the full control it now possessed. Ji-hyun managed to muster a hesitant congratulation, her eyes darting toward the exit. Her path was abruptly blocked as the troll lifted her effortlessly, its malevolent intentions hanging ominously in the air. Dread filled Ji-hyun as the troll suggested a horrifying alternative, placing her head where the headless head should have been. Paralyzed with terror, Ji-hyun watched the troll's claw poised to strike. Sol-hwang had resigned to the belief that their mission had met its end, convinced that survival was a distant dream. Then, unexpectedly, the chairman, the source of their last hope, asserted that he comprehended the situation better than anyone else, emphasizing Warm Warm's unique significance. Out of nowhere, a blazing sword materialized, slicing off the troll's arm and rescuing Ji-hyun from her impending doom. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.